Hello, hello. So, I'm a little late, but it's okay. You won't forgive me. I was working on the tutorial video and I got kind of lost track of time. But anyway, we might as well start with you, Greta. So I noticed that you said you wanted to do like a jewel tone, and I think you could potentially do it, but I think you just have to brighten up a lot of things in order for the color palette to feel very cohesive. So Jesse, I think last month, submitted a piece where we went over a little bit about how to, unify a color palette. So let's just start with that part first. So one thing that you'll want to notice is that the brown sticks out a lot because it's not quite part of the color palette. So instead, maybe I would probably shift it a little bit more magenta-like. So even almost to that purple color. That way it feels a little bit more in tone with the rest of the color palette. Same for this yellow, so either we change the seat color to feel a little bit warmer and a little bit brighter. Honestly, let's see. I might even try to make it basically the same, but just push it down a little bit. And then since you showed me a lot of the Tamandaguchi fan art, they had a lot of leaf and floral faunery. I feel like this is the opportunity for you to bust a lot of those plants in this area right here section. So I'm going to block off. Yes. So we're gonna first block off sort of like the darker area, which is like where the soil and where the pot area would be. Yeah. Okay, so right here. That way you kind of close off the composition and you no longer have this kind of really bright space right there. So again, we're gonna make more of our shadow values, that purplish bluish color, since we have, their outfits sort of this purple color. So maybe I'll do this. And then just really generically draw some plants. Okay, so you're just gonna have to pretend that these are like really nicely drawn plants. So I like to start with a slightly darker value for the plants first before I come in with the brighter values. So I'm going to go for a sort of yellow, orange, bright green kind of color. Hello, Jesse! We're going over Greta's piece and we're talking about how to unify color palettes, which if you recall when I did your movie cap seed screen study, we talked about unifying palettes. So we're gonna go over that once more, and this time just with this kind of cyan-y color palette. Woo, re-lesson, because it never hurts to hear the same thing over and over until you kind of sink into your brain a little bit. And then I'm gonna shift some of these values so they're not all the same color plants, so it's a little bit more interesting. God, this lasso, please. Oh. Sometimes I hate the lasso tool. Okay, work with me. Color theory is hard, yes. It is so hard to the point that even non-artists are all like, I know color theory. Oh god, my comment section is wild in as of late. push that a little bit less. Good Friday. Sounds like you had a wonderful Friday, Jesse. And you'll notice that, Greta, that whenever I'm going darker in color, I'm cooling it off because we have decided for our color palette that we're going to keep the warms to this yellow-orange. So warmer colors for the light areas, and then for the darker color, shallow areas, we're going to go to the cooler colors. So purples, blues, cyan would be kind of our middle ground, I guess, in this case. So you're just gonna pretend. I'm gonna pull up some of those plant references because I'm out here just making the ugliest plants that you can ever see. Okay, so we have one type of color of plant, so I'm gonna bust out this slightly warmer plant. Almost yellowy, maybe. Not all of it's gonna be yellow because you don't want the plant to look too boring, so that's why I'm just gonna, you know, shift some colors a little bit. I don't know, something like that maybe. So that's... Speaking of dog pictures, my sister recently moved to New York and she has met a friendly lobby cat and has decided to make itself home in her apartment. So I've been getting a ton of those types of pictures and videos, which is kind of funny. And while we're at it, we'll take the opportunity to warm up some of this a little bit just to add the extra pop of light. So your leaves, you know, kind of shine a little bit. I might stick that back behind Gojo. Okay, so that's the general idea. I'll just add a little bit of shadow using the multiply layer really quickly. Obviously you'll do this a lot nicer than I am, but just for sake of time, maybe we'll use a little bit of purpley color. Go more purple, please. Okay. Hold a sec, I gotta turn off my camera for a second. All right, I'm back. Okay, we gotta continue on with our shadow. So I'm just darkening up this area so where our eyes aren't super drawn to that point, especially since our focus is supposed to be right here. So, trying to make it purpley color. We'll just pretend that works. And then after you're done, we're going to, again, go back to our shifting some of these colors to match our color palette. And first of all, Gojo's hair feels a little bit out of place. I think we may have to do something, maybe push it more towards the blues, maybe, and lighten it up in the first place. I have not yet watched season 2 yet, but I've been trying to catch up on the manga, and it's killing me because there's so many new characters, and it's been such a long while since I've read. I finished the Shibuya arc and the prequel of like JJK Zero, so I'm just like sitting here being like, who the heck are all these people they're throwing at me? Why is there this guy like who does gambling? What's reverse cursed energy? But I did get spoilers. Apparently, in the manga, they finally got to the point where Gojo is back out of the box. So I'm like, the only motivation to try to keep reading. Yeah, he needs to stop adding people because I have very limited space in my brain. I can barely remember what I ate yesterday. So if you ever hear me describing a character in a show or whatever, it's always just going to be based on like either their ability or their physical appearance because I don't remember their names. Okay, and then okay, just pretend it's under the liner. Oh man. So if he really is out of the box, then I gotta push myself to keep reading then. Okay. Right here, again, to kind of block off this area so we don't focus on it so much, add maybe a little bit of a shadow or even another person. Or something. I don't know. This is a really shitty way to do it, but this is just to give you an idea of like how you might block someone in there. And then another way you can break up the seat is to sort of add some highlights. So I'm starting to shift more into that green that you saw we used in the leaf to add more highlights to the seat. Yeah, you got me. You got me. Okay, so I don't know, maybe it'll be more color balanced wise. Load for me. Okay. Okay, that way it looks a little bit nicer. Rasterize. I gotta keep this leaf bright. Okay. And then I think also something you might want to do is basically because it's such a harsh contrast of this dark value with the seat, either we darken up the seat or we lighten up the uniforms. So maybe we could do a mix of both a little bit. So let's just lighten it up a little bit and then give this one a shadow. And we're gonna go into our teal, cyan, turquoise color. Okay, we're just gonna bust it over here. Same for Ghetto's hair. He might benefit from just lightening it up a tad bit through highlights or something so it doesn't feel so stark contrasty. And then it'll feel a lot more like the light source is defined and you'll understand like, oh, okay, this is where the light source is, so you don't get confused. And then maybe I would advise against using that kind of bluish purple color. Maybe we shift it down a little bit more to the cyan so it feels similar to this color. Because with color palettes, the basic idea is you want to keep the palette relatively limited so it doesn't feel too disjointed or it feels like you just threw a whole rainbow onto the page. So it's always helpful to remind the viewer like, okay, so this whole general piece gives the feeling of this color with just pops of this to draw your attention to. I won't shift it too much. Or I also don't want to make it too blue because your shadow here is purple. If you make it too blue, it'll look dumb. I think I changed my mind. We're gonna push it towards purple because I realized the shadow is like a purple color, so the highlight should really be closer to a purple color. And we just might drop the saturation a little bit, drop the brightness a little bit, because this is a black suit, black uniform, so the highlights aren't actually going to be too stark of a contrast. So you need to kind of squint your eye a little bit to see the values. See that difference? And then you can just leave, you know, I'm gonna clean this up because it looks really fuzzy right now. But you can leave sort of like the brightest highlights to say about this value, and then you can just pop it in there a little bit at the very tibiest tops. Otherwise, it's gonna have to get darker a little bit. Okay, so let's see. Before, after, see how just dropping the value of it a little bit helps it read like it's a black suit and not all of a sudden it's like a really shiny metallic kind of thing. Okay, so once I finish covering this up, we're going to talk a little bit about how to fill up this table a little bit before we then go into like the nitty-gritty stuff like anatomy, angle wise and stuff. So let me pull up some of the stuff that you were contemplating using. So a lot of strawberry stuff, lots of drinks. You have your toast in there, so I maybe make that toast like a big chonker of a thing. So make it nice and fat. Stack it up or something like that. And then add some berries. And so since you have some localized color of this pinkish purple magenta color, it's time for you to reuse some of that on the plate. And it's also some time for you to add some greens. Just a little bit, not too much. You still need a little bit more. I would put another plate of something over here. You with your food. Your food. I saw them all and I was like, wow, makes me want to go to the cafe nearby my house. Still haven't tried it yet. Gojanice's veggies. So maybe we could put a little bit of the greens in there. So like a big old salad with tomatoes maybe, I don't know. Or I'm trying to think, some kind of shrimp cocktail thingy. This is like just a placeholder for now. You can like get more details for like with the type of food, but I'm just putting like colors in there so you have a direction of what types of food can be put in there. You could even put, I don't know, one more plate just over here. With those strawberries. Strawberry cake. Oops, wrong color. I want that yellow and then also that pink. Do like a multi-layer cake or something and then put some strawberries on top. And then you can throw some of that blueberry color. So my issue is that blueberry color. It's too blue for its own good. Especially since everything here we've decided we want to make a very purplish-ish tone. So we're just gonna scooch it over a little bit to that purpley color and then make it a little bit lighter, just like that. And already you can see it feels a little bit better in terms of sitting in the table and not popping out too crazy much. Ah, crap. I don't know, maybe you could put like a croissant right here. It's the shittiest looking croissant, but I'm not putting in the details right now. Or maybe it's a cannoli, I don't know what it is. And then just throw in some last minute shadows. So these shadows are going to lean more towards that bluish purple. So this purpley color, I'll allow it for like a little bit, but the darkest part right here should be the bluish color. So we're gonna, for the leaves, something like that. And then I would just extend this shadow a little bit more. so it feels like the space is being covered up more. I don't know, maybe put some more plants in the background here. Or somehow we have to fill up this section right here, and I'm thinking either we put some secondary shadow like that, or we can fill it with some floor patterns. Oops, cancel. Yeah, like you could do like tiles for the floor or something like that. Okay, tiles on. Disgusting method of doing tiles, but you're gonna have to forgive me. Tiles. Tiles. Super, yeah, totally clean. Yeah, I would definitely keep it simple. Don't go too overboard with like the stuff that's on the floor, or else you're gonna really distract the attention away. Okay, this is not even the angle that it needs to be at. Okay, I would fix this real quick. Oh my god. Okay, how do I do this? Alright, so while I'm trying to fix this angle, how about we jump into the talk of the perspective? Okay, so we're gonna draw some lines, receding lines. Okay, so our point of view should be kind of receding like this, based on what your buildings are, what your tables and everything are telling me. So if you want this exaggerated, like wider lens angles, I think you need to push the angle a little bit more towards like that farther side. So just angle it a little bit more. So it ends up looking like, how do I do this? So if you're receding angles like this, I would just exaggerate it a little bit more. Maybe push it like this a little bit, and then just a little bit more. So it ends up creating this kind of weird tilted grid. So that means I'm gonna do my best to try to fix the angle a little bit, but you'll definitely have to just go back and redraw it yourself because I don't have the layers right now. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. How can I do this without having any of the Photoshop layers? We'll see. Okay, and then this seat right here. Buckle up your hats, y'all. Switch that over. Okay, if you want to keep your angle, where did I put this? Okay. try to make it as close as possible to your original angle, but then, you know, just keep some of the stuff that I have. So I don't have to do too much to try to fix the perspective too. Okay, a little bit closer. And then because we have one angle kind of pushing to the back, this means the seat needs to be... I'm just gonna take away the checker so I don't have to deal with that right now. Push a little bit more towards, it gets wider as it gets closer to us, and then skinnier as it gets farther away from us. So that's the rule when it comes to perspective like this. And then if you can imagine the seat, squish that in there so it feels like it's tucked in, and then bust this baby this way. I have a sneaking suspicion Greta purposely does this to me because she wants to see me suffer. It doesn't feel like you're innocent, Greta, every single... Somehow I always end up having to try to figure out perspective, even though I hate perspective. Okay, so this is all just background so far. I haven't even fixed the perspective of the people yet. Okay, so this is gonna push back some more. The seat gets to be a little bit farther back. Okay, so there's your shadow. The reason why I made this more of a pinkish kind of orangey color is because it's like pretty far deeper in the shadow, whereas if I'm going to do a shadow here, it's going to be a little bit more subtle, so I'm going to keep it in the orange range. Just up the saturation a little bit, so that way it still feels like relatively bright. Yeah, you're inflicting pain on both of us, Greta. You're going to have to fix this yourself later on. So this part is still, I can still accept it, it's believable. One day, yeah, we all have to hope that one day we can all become like masters of perspective. Like those people who just like grab a pushpin and a string and they draw those buildings, I'm like, that's very impressive, but I also don't want to put in the effort to learn. Okay. please avoid using grays, especially since your piece is so colorful. You want to keep it away from this gray color. You want to push it more towards this middle section of your color wheel. So instead of this gray, maybe I might suggest you push it here and just up the saturation. That way you get that same feeling and the shadow feels a lot more alive. See that? Okay, so that also means she's gotta move. Okay, layer real cut. Shove her right in front. You would see a little bit more of her shoulder. Not too much, just a little bit right there. Okay, just merge those babies. I don't even care at this point. Just merge them. Her legs need to be right there. She's gotta... She doesn't wear pants, so she's gotta give her some light color. And then I would just say the seat, you won't be able to see this part of the cushion from that angle. So I gotta get rid of it. Sorry, bye-bye. You'll only be able to see basically the side if you can imagine it. Like that, and then maybe a little bit of that top part. Not even really that much. Yeah, they're short, so I gotta give her her light color. I'm like so many layers everywhere. I'm getting confused myself. Perhaps I should just merge these. Make myself suffer less. Okay, only thing I'll keep is this. I have no layer management. If you haven't noticed by now, like I just merge everything so I don't actually have to think about what to name my layers. And so it's RIP for anyone who wants to move anything around. So when I am doing like animation using Photoshop, I actually have to consciously make the decision to be like, okay, I'm gonna put this layer here and this layer here. Whereas when I'm just painting, I'm like, all right, time to play the game of where did I put this? Draw on one layer, exactly. If you can't draw on one layer, what a scrub. And then I feel like Gojo seat should be a little bit higher because his shoulder is like no way is his upper torso so long that it like rests on top of that yellow part. Yeah, no, you definitely have to manage your layers, especially if you're doing animation or graphic design stuff, because if you don't, it's actually going to kill you later on. You'll like regret your life, and I learned it the hard way when I was trying to like animate with After Effects, and I was like, tall boy, but not that tall, Greta, not that tall. These seats are like huge. Okay, how do I make Ghetto bigger? Ghetto bigger. Without destroying everything I've made. Because he's like way too small in comparison to Gojo. Like, I get it, like Gojo's like closer to us as a viewer in the camera, but he still needs to be somewhat slightly bigger just because he's basically the same size as, I forgot her name already, but she, the Steaks Girl. I'm so bad with names. So he needs to be bigger, so let's do this. Shoko, thank you. Alright, see the difference? How this a little bit more believable, and it helps you fill up the space so he doesn't look like he's a tiny midget inside the booth. She is just there for 2 seconds. I swear, like, the only shot they give her is like in the beginning of the series, and then afterwards she's like flopping around trying to do something, but the main character is like I'm getting distracted. Okay, gotta go back. Oh my god, did I really? Oh my gosh, I did. And then because he's like slouching forward, you're gonna get to see more of his back and his butt from this angle. So I'm gonna push that back out. Otherwise, it doesn't feel like he's slouching, and instead it feels like he's, you know, doing this weird like shrimp curl. I don't remember any of their names at this point. I feel like if I am going to remember any of their names, I'd have to reread the manga or rewatch the series. Only remember Megumi, Gojo, because Gojo is love, Gojo's life. Geto, Itadori. Yes, I at least remember the main character's name. Good. And then push his shoulder back a little bit, because from this angle, once again, we're busting out that red line. The body will sit like this, and it's gonna overlap a shit ton. This right here, the shoulder's gonna be popping out just like that. So Jujutsu is the finger. It might as well be. I feel like that's really the only thing I ever remember from that whole series. So this is like a really rough painting of the pose. You definitely want to go back and fix up some of the details, especially like the folds of the jacket and everything. Perfect. Collaboration. Teamwork makes the dream work. Okay. Still missing that. Why didn't I put shadow underneath this plate? You're gonna get a shadow cast on the face, especially if he's doing this. And then let's talk about Gojo. Gojo's perspective is quite a little interesting. So the way you have his neck, it feels like he's twisted like this and very stiff, where you want it a little bit more natural. So his back has to be pushed, his neck has to be pushed back a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, I'll just paint on here. You're just gonna regret it later. Okay, so push his neck back a little bit, and then push his. We're gonna hide that part of the arm a little bit. Oh god. Okay, you're gonna hate me. I don't keep any of the layers proper. You're gonna see like, why am I doing the seat layer on here? But hey, this is like, you know what? Just fuck this shit. We're merging that. How do I do this? How do I do this right? Okay, I'm gonna cut him out. We're gonna cut him out and then we'll just keep him on his separate layer, okay? Okay, how do I... Oops. Delete that. Okay. Bust out our line again. Just pretend my tiles are right. Okay. So just pretend the tiles are done well, and then I'm just hide it away while I'm fixing Gojo. So, okay, so we gotta cover this up a little bit here. I gotta cover him up here. I'll fix that gradient later. Okay, also this part should not get that much showing. Should I construct the seat for you in 3D wise so you can understand the shadows of this? Let's see. I will try my best to make the 3D shape, but it won't be perfect because I don't have like the exact shapes. But we can use rectangles, cubes to try to get the idea of how the cube should, the seat should look like, and then you'll have an idea of how the cushion should look like. Alright, so we're gonna hide this away because I don't need that. We're gonna shrink that, make our first part of our seat the backboard. You actually modeled it in 3D? Nah, don't worry about it. I don't think I even have the program to properly open it in. Okay, and then we're just gonna shoop, squish, backboard. Okay. It's looking real good so far. We're gonna cheat a little bit. Okay, so that's your seat. Okay. And then this is that, let me turn on camera lighting so you can see it a little bit nicer. Close enough, yeah, you're right, close enough. So just gonna have to take it, Greta. I'm gonna try to make it a little bit longer so it feels like an actual seat. And then I'm gonna throw another one for the seat cushion. Pretty darn close if you ask me. I didn't even think I would be able to model it, but hey, surprise, surprise, we got it. Okay, so here's our seat. It's a very rudimentary, very simple version of your seat. And so let's get ourselves in that angle. See how you don't see very much? Oh my god, I wish this program had a duplicate so I could show you the other side. Okay, no, we'll just turn it around. Okay, let me scooch this over, zoom out. Okay, so this is approximately that angle that we want. I don't think I can move the camera without screwing up everything. So if you want it tilted a little bit higher up, slight angle like this. So slight angle like this, which is what we're trying to get. You're gonna see, you do not see very much of that, like back this part. You're only gonna get to see that top part. So which is why I'm covering up that whole section that we had before. Let me finish covering up Gojo because unfortunately he's being a pain in the butt right now while I'm trying to fix your perspective stuff. Where's Gojo? Oh my god. No, not there. This one. Okay, so somewhat covered up. Now we can freely manipulate Gojo's body without worrying about him showing up again. I should maybe make this a little bit wider so you can see the opposite side, because we have 2 seats. Boop. Still too long. Okay, we got ourselves a 2-seater. So this is our angle. And then back to Gojo. So his... So Greta, question, do you want him sitting up straight like this, or do you want him slouch a little with his like lower body kind of tilted forwards? If that's the case, then you obviously are definitely going to have to push this part more this way and then show off more of the body like this. But if you are wanting him to sit straight up because he's a troll, he likes to just defy every situation, show off his body or whatever, then we can keep it like this. We do have to make this part of his arm bigger because, again, remember, from this perspective, it's going to be big to small, so top objects are going to be bigger than objects farther down. Me even... I hate myself, okay. How do we lock object so I don't accidentally move it. Yeah, I would probably have him sit more straight up. Just try not to... Oh my gosh, did I lock everything? I would just try not to put it too straight up because it doesn't feel natural if he's sitting too straight up, because his personality is more of the very laid back, free kind of character. Alright, let's make this guy huge. Where is he? Oh, where were we? Alright, okay. So here's what we're going to do. It's not going to be a natural pose, but we're just going to get this guy sitting here so you get an idea of how the angle of the body should look. So if I slouch him just a little bit. Maybe his arm could be, you know, cradling that seat. Oh, he needs to sit down first. Sit down, boy. And then we're just gonna tilt him back a little bit. And then he's gotta twist his body a little bit in order for him to be able... I hate this stage. Okay. Oh my god, I'm not meant to be a 3D modeler. Twist his body just a tad bit so his arm can reach. No, I don't think they add a Control Z yet, and that's the worst part. I wish they did, then I wouldn't get so frustrated. I also wish they would add like a duplicate button. Like if I did something, give it to me again. Yeah, I think that might be the appropriate pose. Okay, have him look at us more. In that case, we gonna push his arm down a little bit. I feel like I'm going crazy about the anatomy. Like, I'm pretty sure the deltoid this part sits outside and not inside, but whatever. In order for his body to not look too weird, that's why I am pushing that arm slightly forward. And then maybe this arm could just sit like right there. No, Jesse, you can do it. It's not supposed to be impossible. Like, if I can make AC out of these stupid shapes, you can do it. Okay. I think this is the pose that we want. I'm gonna hide everything so I don't get confused. Hide the joints. So something like this. So you see how this part is the whole shoulder, so and this part is bigger than this part, right? Let me shift this over a tad bit so you have a little bit more space. Just an eensy weensy bits. Okay. And then once we just basically fix up Gojo's perspective and anatomy, we'll move on to Jesse's piece because I think I've been spending too long with this one now. His leg right here. His leg would be a little bit more far apart. Okay, and then you will definitely, most definitely need to fix the face perspective a little bit. So you can quickly use liquefy to save ourselves a little bit. This eye would sit closer this way. Bring up the whole face would round out like this. The ear should be bigger. And then we're gonna tuck in that head a little bit. Don't make it too big or else he's gonna look like an alien or a baby newborn. And I'm just gonna help you fix up the nose so he doesn't have a hooked nose. So the tip with the 3D model is don't try to make the joints do too crazy of a thing. So if you try to make it like push the arm like crazy far back, it's definitely not going to listen to you, and it's going to be very, very stubborn, and you're just going to get frustrated. I would also recommend you have Gojo looking at us, so and then I'm gonna tuck his neck more into his body. The collar's right here. If you want to make it, I don't know, a little bit scandalous. Ooh, open shirt. Spicy, spicy, spicy. So his shoulder's right here, and then his chest would be right here. His arms would sit right there. This is super messy, but I can save this picture and send it also along with the... Yes, along with the PSD file. So make sure you have Gojo looking at us, or else I get really confused about like what the heck is supposed to be going on, especially since Geto's looking at us. So I didn't understand why Gojo's not also looking at us. If you want to do his like white lashes, that's how I would suggest you might do it. Like add a little shadow to it. And then Gojo has a lot of shaggy hair, so make sure you add those in there. His bangs should be a little bit longer. Something like that. So let me throw the tiles back on, the really shitty ones. Alright, so this is like my proposed changes from the initial, which was this. So you see how the colors really didn't feel like they connected a lot. You need to pay attention to that. If you're ever not sure about how to do the colors, I totally recommend you check out the, what was it, Adobe Color Palette Generator wheel thingy, Color Harmony. This website right here. Ah, go away. Leave me alone. So this right here, if you want like a specific type of color palette, you can just play around with the wheel and it'll help you generate it, so you don't have to work too hard. If you wanted to do your complementary, you can even like shift some of the colors a little bit. And that's like a very great way to get your mind off of not sure, like, oh, I wanted to have that turquoise color, and so I'm thinking this is like split complementary or something like that. I don't actually know. Yeah, so something like that. So like you can see like these colors would look nice together or something like that. So the Color Adobe Color Wheel, great website, love it. I am a Gojo simp, so I'll save this. We're gonna go on to Jesse's now. I will just save this file in case you need it in a different perspective. Okay. And then we're just gonna talk about how you can get a little bit better and like what the benefits of sketching first before coloring. So there are definitely some artists who don't sketch out a full thing, but that's usually after like lots of practice from years and years of learning how to draw, and they tend to focus more on like the form rather than the line work. But for you as an artist, because I know that you like to use line art, you definitely do want to get into a habit of sketching things. So how do you get more natural looking sketches, how to enjoy your sketching, is to find subject matter that you're interested in sketching. To get really loose is to usually set a time limit for yourself when you're sketching anything. If you always allow yourself to sketch like however long it takes for you to sketch, you're going to end up with very rigid, very detail oriented. You're going to get focused on the wrong things at the wrong time. So if we are trying to focus on like the poses, then I would say ignore the close. Just go for the general. Let me get a time sketches. Okay, that's good. So you are on the right track. So another way that you can help yourself get a little bit looser is to try to get rid of the close, especially if we are focusing on just the pose. So that way you can, where is my brush? Here. Get the general direction. So we have the general direction, right? So now we have to loosen up. Start forcing yourself to use more curves rather than straight lines. If only this was a little bit higher quality, I would be able to, you know, go nitpick a little bit, but we're gonna have to zoom out and do a little bit of big picture work right now. So if you have like details on a jacket or whatever, you're gonna ignore that. Ignore that. All right, so if we're focusing on the pose, we're gonna really loosely, really quickly, I would even set the timer to say like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, really quickly just to get something down in there. That way your hand and your wrist really loosens up everything, stretch it out, everything. And you start playing around with the general flow of, oh my gosh, I'm not even on the right layer. Excuse me while I'm being a dumbass. So you get really focused more on the energy and the flow of the picture rather than, say, the details. So her leg's gonna stick out here. I see there's a curve, so I'm gonna exaggerate that curve. And already you got the general idea of the figure, right? So now it's time to come back in to fix up all the details. So we're gonna follow that curve, we're not gonna get rid of it. Keep the foot simple, it's gonna be a nice triangle shape. You can even keep some of this line work. Her jacket sits right there. And I'm not worrying about the details. So here's her hand, here's her hand, here's her jacket. So the big shapes, right? Big shape, big shape. And I noticed I made her neck way too long, so I'm gonna scoot her head down a little bit. Scoot, scoot. And there, you got like a very loose sketch, and you don't have to actually clean these up because these are sketches, right? So these are meant to sort of force you to learn to embrace your lines. So learn to love your lines. You don't have to always keep your lines super duper neat. Once you have like the general emotion of the pose, then can you come in and clean it up if you are making it into a final piece. So that's why usually when I sketch something for like, say, a composition, I try not to get too bogged down on the anatomy or proportion. I try to capture the emotion. So say if I want to have someone standing in the middle and they're gonna be running through a field or something. So I'm not too worried about whether or not my anatomy is correct, but these are the ideas of like, okay, the arm is going to be right here. That way you can really quickly work out whether a composition will work for me. So like, am I covering enough of the space that I can create a sense of flow throughout the composition? If not, then I can really quickly say, okay, maybe I need to adjust my arm, move it higher up. Maybe I need to add some kind of object right over here. Maybe I need to add some clouds to help me create flow in my piece. And that's why it's important to start to, you know, embrace your sketches. Take a little bit more time to do some really quick sketches, really quick thumbnails before you move on to like the line art stage or the coloring stage. Because if we don't have a very solid composition or solid, you know, idea of like how the anatomy is going to work, your whole piece is going to end up having a lot of troubles later on in the future. And then we don't want to give ourselves more work in the future, right? Even though there's that saying like it's future me's problem, current me is already feeling the anxiety. So we'll just finish off by going over some of your few sketches just to fix up some of the obvious anatomy issues. Some ways you can improve your line work skills is some ways to make your sketches feel a little bit more finished is to vary the line weight. So if you have a shadow area, make it a little bit thicker. So not every single area is going to be thicker, but definitely, you know, some areas. You want to pay attention to the angle of the knees. Right, you see that your knee isn't quite low enough. Same for the shoulders. Her shoulders are relatively straight like this. You need to bring the shoulder up just a tad, eensy weensy bincy. And you're gonna notice her hips about the same angle, so it should sit at that same angle instead of so low. That way her kind of legs look longer and everything. Tilt that over. Oops. Yeah, future me is quite a very mean customer. They become a Karen once they find out that I have not been treating them right. And if anything, don't even worry about the shoes, just draw triangles for the shoes. And then for calves, what you want to pay attention to for calves, they end up looking like this usually, so make sure you have that kind of shape. And her feet, you see how her feet sits on that floor and it connects to the rest of her leg. You need to get that, or else she doesn't feel like she's standing. So the overall pose should give that sense of weight this way. So you see how her leg isn't quite enough towards the center there. That's why she feels like she's kind of almost falling over. Something. There, that would catch that flow. And then for her, you have a tendency to try to really push the long torso. So I think you need to consciously force yourself to try to make the leg a little bit longer, because do you see how the proportions on this girl right here, her whole body, her hips sit about a little higher than halfway, whereas yours sit hips sit here, her knees sit about halfway. Her knees are really close to her hips for some reason, so you need to scooch that leg just a little bit. Am I on the wrong layer again? I am, whatever. So the quick way to fix this is I'm gonna scoop these legs a little. How do I do this? There'd be a cut. Make it just a little bit longer. Yeah, slightly longer legs. You have a tendency to make the legs really stubby, so the characters all look like chibi manga characters. Like, I don't know if that's telling me something about like whether you're a lolly or whatnot, but we're here to learn accurate proportion. So. Yeah, there we are. Make sure her shoulder is higher up also for this one, because when you're tilted to the side and you're looking at it from like a below angle, the shoulders ends up usually covering up, basically almost connects from the chest all the way to the shoulder. So you're gonna end up with the whole, okay, I'll just use this one. Whole silhouette should look like that. Her shoulder sits right on top. And then her neck right here. Okay, so scoot this shoulder up a little bit. This one's okay, but the leg right here, the way to get that angle is you gotta push the knee flat here and then curved there. So you're gonna end up with the leg looking like that. That way she looks like she's standing, you know, facing towards each other, because her feet are standing face towards each other. And then her hips are also kind of angled that way. Don't forget that. And exaggerate her arm right here. Make it a little bit more straight this way. So it sits lower, because you can see like the whole motion of her arm. Good, that's why you should know your anatomy, or someone's gonna mistake you for like a lolicon or something. And that is a no bueno around here. So I'm not even gonna bother with her hands. Shoulder right here sits higher up. Okay. This shoulder is higher than this shoulder, so make sure you reflect that in your sketch. And then you're gonna make sure you push that chest forward, and her legs should follow in line with that. Yeah, so if you're not sure how to do these measurements, break it down into straight lines. So we'll take a look at the picture. What is the angle of her shoulder? This one. So you're gonna take that same angle, put it on your picture. You see there's one angle creating a V shape right here. You're gonna create an obtuse angle right here, and you'll see that this angle follows all the way down to her feet. So her feet are actually lined up with her skirt. Yeah, so this is because we have bad habits when we first learn to draw. It takes a long time, or like conscious effort, to force yourself to stop doing it, and actually force yourself to really look at what you're seeing and not just do it based on what you think the person should be looking like. I had that tendency when I was younger, so I kind of really forced myself to just keep doing figure studies over and over until I kind of got it. So here we go. Gotta put that leg over here, and then the angle of that hip aligns like this, so her curves, and it should stand relatively straight like this. So this is the one leg that is straight. This leg can be a little bit angled. And it's because this angle of her hip, that's why we get that dress popping out like that. And we make sure her head is a little bit smaller so she doesn't look like a chibi. See that difference in the angles? This one's not too bad. Again, don't forget the shoulder needs to go higher up here. You see this round curve right here? That's the shoulder. So whenever you see this round curve here, you need to make a conscious effort to remind yourself, okay, this is where my shoulder needs to start. And then the tilt of the spine. You see how slouchy he is? Yours is not quite slouched enough. He's still standing very straight up, so he looks like he's on an average day. So we're gonna push that neck some more, push that back some more. Slouch the whole body, slouch it. We can keep the arm there. So you see how that slouch happened? You push the chest forward, push that spine inwards a little bit more, so he looks like he's a hunchback of Notre Dame. Don't even bother with the facial features at this point. It's not your focus. Just cut it in half, cut off the nose. And just do a big rectangle for the backpack. I don't even care about it at this point. And this part, you see how it lines up? And that's how you do all these measurements to figure out the whole general angle, like the pose and how the clothes interact with the body. Lines up. Okay, let's see if there are any more glaring errors. You also want to caution the width of her leg. You have a tendency to make it very tapered. Give her a little bit more meat along the ankles. See that? It's very straight. Straight. You can even think of it as like a stick figure, like that. That way your characters look like they have a little bit more muscle and more believability that they can move around. Though these legs do exist, I would just caution using them for like the standard body type. This one's okay. Just make the legs longer. This one is pretty good. Pay attention to like that thigh gap. This is okay. Yes, it is acceptable. You need that thigh gap, and her knees are way too low. Like, do you see how short this gap is? Her thigh is actually pretty short in comparison to her calf length. So we need to start her knee here, and her leg starts there. again, longer legs, so it's gonna go off the page a little bit. There's a huge gap right here. Okay, that way she looks like that, the classic Asian model who has like way too long legs. Don't know if it's Photoshop or if she just has really good camera angles. And then for feet like this, pay attention to whether they overlap. So for sure this, we definitely got some overlapsies. And this leg is going to be the one that has all the weight on it. So it's going to be where the spine, the head is going to lean on, and then the other leg can just be right behind, and you can tilt that body. Do you see that? So it should look like this when you're analyzing the angles of the pose, especially if it's like a pose that you're not familiar with. Lots of leg references. Not just leg references, you need to look at the overall proportions of a body, get used to understanding like whether or not the proportion is right. So that's going to be done just by actually measuring from your sketch to the reference image and doing it over and over and over till to some point your eyes can just automatically like recognize that this is not the right proportion, and you can fix it really quickly. So she needs to have this overall curve. So her leg needs to be a little bit more to the left. Everything needs to be poking more to the left. And I'm taking that opportunity to make it bigger. Slightly better. You can simplify really just like that, straight line, follow the curve that we established, and then build the leg off of it. Okay, and that way she looks a little bit more like she's leaning on that leg rather than just standing really stiffly. Same issue here, make sure the leg touches. So this leg needs to be closer to the center line. And tilt it a little bit. And once you scoop that leg on over, you can see how it's easy for you to actually have those 2 feet touch, right? And then you want to drop the shoulder just a little bit more. See the angle? And caution doing the shoulders too high up like this, the square shoulders. You want to have a little bit of slope, especially most people's shoulders are more sloped downwards for a more natural, very relaxed feel. And in this case, especially because she is leaning this way. Figure out which weight the foot is on, which foot the weight is on, and then that's how you're going to build up your sketches. So hip needs to hit more this way, so we're going to scoop that shirt tilted to give the illusion of tilt. So this is one way you can avoid having to think about the clothes. Yeah, you usually follow the spine and just, you want to zoom out a little bit and look at the general direction of the body. So you can usually draw a line straight through the middle of the body to see how it curves. And you're gonna see that this leg sticks pretty closely to that center line, where this one kind of pops out a little bit. See that? So we need to get that S shape in ours. And you know that this part of her chest is poking out a little bit more, so feel free to exaggerate it a little bit. And never forget the angle of the hip, or else your character's never gonna look right. So that's how you get those types of angles and those types of sketches to fix up the posing and everything. I think the ones where it's like relatively simple and you can see the weight distribution very well, you get the idea of it. But for ones where the shoulder's kind of tucked in, or like if the hips are tilted like this one, you need to focus more on the angle of the shoulders and the angles of the hips and the knees. That way, and the curve of the general body, that way you get it a little bit more accurate. So you see how yours is like kind of not curved enough compared to that, so you need to jut out this part of the body a little bit more before you come into the leg. Alright, I'll save this and I'll send it into the chat. And let's finish up with Misu's. He's not currently right here now, but we can talk a little bit about texture and how to photo bash, which is one way to really quickly get texture done in a time crunch. So quick water break. Okay, let's find where I put that reference picture. So first things first, when you are doing a study, you always want to just map out the big general shapes. So you're gonna want to map out this big rectangle and this curve shape and the road. Everything else is going to be secondary to the composition, to the perspective and everything. Next thing you'll do is you're gonna fix up, identify where's your warms and your cools, where's your lights and your darks. So this part is very much warmish, cooler colors, right? So that's the main issue right here in our picture. It's that we do have this really cool toned looking building, and that is really bothering like the eye of the viewer, making it feel very dull, very like depressing. Oops. So first things first, we're gonna warm up this whole section right here. And you can really quickly do that yourself with just like a soft light layer. If you ever notice like end game, you're like, oh shoot, my colors look really shitty, so bust out a extra layer and just adjust the colors a little bit. Make this a little bit warmer too. Alright, so you see just how much this improved the image already significantly. It feels very much more summery, very warm. Next thing you'll do is the values. I would avoid trying to get all the details, especially in a 1 hour crunch. I would take a lasso and just really quickly throw in your windows. And just make sure that they're the right perspective. And not so much as like, do I have all the lines on the windows? So you can even just leave a bush like this in a time crunch. It doesn't have to be detailed like this, because what you can do is simulate it. So I adjusted your tones because remember, we're gonna have a little bit more warm toned kind of picture since it's summery. So your green has to be more warm rather than cools. And I usually find that if I want to create texture for plants, I take a textured brush and let it do the work for me instead of trying to individually create it. So I'm just going to lasso the area that I want to have that dark area. Then gotta be perfect. Yeah, something like that. Same for this. I'm just going to take one of my textured brushes that I feel like using at the moment. Can be like something like this. Can even be something like this. Just to really quickly get it in there. Now for door textures, I'm gonna merge this down there. You can just paint like a general color that you want for the door. And then you're just gonna take a brush with some random splatters, some random lines to help you start creating texture. Help you create some sort of roughness. Same with this one. You're going to take a sort of texture-y type of brush. Start throwing some texture in there. Doesn't have to be perfect. I usually, for these, I like to throw in some splatter brushes. Let's find it. So you see this like splattery, textury brush, super duper helpful for getting that feel of very rustic. But make sure you keep your harsh edges still. That's going to help you define the shape of the building. Now another option you can do is, if you don't want to do that, you're gonna take a good old Google, Bing, whatever, and you look up wall textures. And this is one of those like free ones, and you're gonna copy. Okay, so you have this here, and this is a technique called photo bashing, and this is like a lot of industry professionals use it in order to help them work faster. So we're going to shrink this to our wall. And the reason why you're allowed to do this is because you have to manipulate this to the point where it's no longer recognizable as the original image. So I'm gonna play around. And that way you already really quickly you get that texture without working at all. I maybe want to use a soft light layer. And you get this kind of textury wall that you want. You can even throw in some, I don't know, broken walls, like this brick wall or something like that. Ugliest photo bashing you'll ever see, but whatever. I messed up. This should go up. Don't photo bash too much. That warp was just not looking right. At that point, you have to kind of just accept it and redo it. Okay. Once more warp. Make sure you grab the right corners or you're gonna end up with some stupid shit like I did. Okay, and then you can do and then you get this really cool kind of bricky texture that you don't understand what is going on, but it's there. You can even play around with that, I don't know, saturation to make it work with you. And just erase away parts that you don't like. So yeah, photo bashing, save your life. Don't feel like doing anything, photo bash it, but make sure you change it enough to the point where it's no longer the original image or you're gonna get into trouble, especially if you're trying to sell that. And then for, for like shrubbery like this, I just take like one of those geometric types of brushes. I don't actually try to paint them or you're gonna go crazy. And then I'm just gonna erase away some of that area. Oops. This part should be darker, so again, value, super duper important, especially in these fast studies. We're not aiming for accuracy in like the buildings being super duper straight, but you do want to make sure the values are right, or else you're gonna end up with a wonky looking picture. lighten up the shadow right here, see that? And it's okay for you to exaggerate, especially in these types of studies. So you see, I'm not even actually drawing a plant, I'm drawing some triangles. Again, circles, not really, not actual plants. Right here should have some darkness for the plants, so throw that in there. Don't worry too much about being super duper detailed. Throw some more texture in there if you want. This lamp needs to be darker or else you don't have that sense of contrast. And it's okay, again, like I said, it doesn't have to be in the right place. But that lack of contrast is killing me. You can even divide the door just like that. Save yourself some time. And already you can see how it's coming together, feeling a lot more visually interesting rather than having too little contrast. So you don't, I'm not even worrying about making straight lines. All right, bye-bye, Greta. And you can, another way you can add texture to this is do that famous noise. Not too much, just a little bit. So you kind of add even more texture to it. Not that you really need it. And yeah, I think this texture for the road should be fine. It reads very gravelly to me, so don't worry too much about like trying to find like the perfect brush for it. As long as you get a very kind of rough looking brush, you can just do a couple of sweeps onto there for the light areas and it should be fine. I'm just gonna shift it on over. so it looks a little bit cooler, and you have the contrast of warms and cools, warms and cools and everything. Alright, I'm just gonna duplicate this layer, move it on over to that other side, give it a little bit of texture too, not too much. Maybe turn it around a little bit. And other times to make your process go faster is to keep a limited color palette. So you have this blue already, might as well repeat that blue again in other places so you don't waste it and your whole piece feels a little bit more unified. Of course, no worries. Good luck on your interview, Misu. I hope you get some spicy content from this. Yeah, hope you pass, so then you can flex that big boy money and support yourself. Alright, so if we compare... Where's it? So before, after, you can see how all those changes help to create a unified piece that's still a study that still reads pretty good. Now, if we have about an hour-ish left, I will show you how I typically do studies, trying to keep it under an hour. Let me find if y'all have any good, let me take a look at my photo album, see what I got. Pinterest, where are you at? And I'll do a quick study and show you how I achieve those types of buildings. Where's my city stuff? Ah. All right, let's give ourselves a little challenge. Oops. I'm absolutely gonna hate myself, but this is what I've decided to do today. Let's work in 3000. I don't want to kill my computer. Alright, starting timer. We're gonna try to finish within an hour. So, first things first, let's do some sketching. Get the major shapes in there. Fun reference. Yes, because Misu, I believe he said he wanted to do more futuristic stuff, so I might as well create a more busy scene like this. Which is pretty typical of a cyberpunk dystopian environments. So definitely gotta get the angles correct. Sometimes to make my process faster, I'll use the straight line tool. And just you might as well take some notes on how to do some quick sketching so you can, you know, loosen up your hand, how you might go about doing sketches in the future. Shapes and legs. Blobs, basically. My whole spiel was just all about doing blobs. Alright, so there's the character right here. I'll just put my own character in here, just for the shits and giggles. Or something like that. We'll just leave it there because this is supposed to be a quick study, so I don't want to focus too much on getting everything perfect. So I'm gonna choose a color palette. And if you can't choose a color palette, go ahead, color pick it a little bit. And you're gonna map out lights and darks. This might be an ambitious AF. Okay, we're gonna try our best though. Oh, I'm glad you're chilling to me just painting because I'm stressed and I only have half an hour left. And this baby ain't even close to complete yet. Okay, so we gotta start throwing in more values in here. Okay, let's just choose this as all single color. And start darkening up. Gotta use Loisha's method of doing the color picker so you can work faster. So instead of me actually trying to color pick, I'm just gonna play around till I get the color I want. I'm so confused. Why do I have this weird line here? Oh my god, am I actually this dumb? Oh. Okay, we just pretend it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It exists. Why do I do this to myself? Pardon my outburst. I was just trying to figure out what the hell am I doing with my layer management skills. Alright, time to finish up all the values. We're almost there, we're almost there. Alright, we got about 20 minutes left, so starting to shape up. Yeah, right? So I haven't even done much work to it. There's like still so much detail that hasn't been put in, but it's starting to shape up, especially since we're trying to keep a very cohesive color palette. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. I love their work. Some people are so good at creating worlds. It takes me a while to think. Let's just really quickly throw in this pattern so I don't have to do the work. cheating. Damn. We love to see everyone succeed. Okay, we only have a couple more minutes, so we gotta start zooming through, ignoring some of these details. Honestly, I think right now it's a little harder for artists in general just to grow, just because I feel like Instagram is turning into more of a Reels-based platform rather than like image. And so if you're not posting consistently, like I am, it's a little bit harder for new people to find you. Just pretend I put things in the right place. Or let's throw in those last bits of those light areas so we can make it feel like it looks more complete than it is. Honestly, she would. So let's just throw in her outfit so you can finally see her and not just a blob. Well, if I'm actually gonna release this piece, I would want to make it a lot more neater and you're supposed to go shopping. Well, plans change. Alright, let's do some color shifting. Alright, we're just gonna leave that lobby mess for now, and we'll come back to it later. Oh, why is it on vivid light? Should be hard light. Last 10 minutes. What a hustle. And then let's throw some texture in there so it looks like concrete. Where's it? There we go. Almost there. We're almost there. Gotta make it feel a little bit more busy. time to take out some big guns, so we're gonna throw some more texture here and there. Get that red in there. Oh, when did I accidentally? Oops. Gotta finish adding all the light before we leave, or else it's not gonna look finished. Alright, within 1 hour we got to this stage, and at this point, since this is a study, yeah, at this point, I would probably photo bash a little bit, like especially for the brick texture, this texture right here. I want to throw some stuff in there, throw some stuff in here. Definitely fill up this section, throw some kind of texture in here. But this is just like the general how you could potentially leave it. Since it's a study, you're just trying to get a feel of the color palette, trying to mimic, trying to get that feel of the motion and the lighting, which I think the last steps you would just probably do to really make this shine is just to take a soft brush and add the extra glow. Like right here. And usually I would typically, you know, merge my layers so the lines aren't so obvious. And you can just see how just that extra addition of that glow layer, everything feels alive. So that's gonna be it for this stream. I am hungry, so I'm gonna go get some dinner. Jesse, hopefully you will also get some dinner. I'll save all of these and send it in the chat. And maybe I'll make this into an actual piece, but for now, it's just gonna sit here as like a study. And otherwise, I will maybe do another stream just to force myself to try to figure out this piece that I'm working on, or if not, I'll harbor down, try to finish up the tutorial video first. It shouldn't be that long, but I've been like debating whether I should make the tutorial video like more complicated or like try to keep it simple and let you guys just give you some general tips on how to create cloud shapes and stuff. But anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye, Jesse. Bye bye. Bye bye.